Hi everyone, so my name is Emma and I am going to be talking to Jay Percy today about her healing and spiritual journey. So if you are joining me live, you're welcome to say hello. If you watch on the replay as well, I'd also love to hear your feedback. So I'm going to wait a couple of moments for Jay to see the notification, but I hope you're doing okay today. So each week I'm talking to different BIPOC women about their healing and spiritual journey and their spiritual practices. And Jay this week, she is actually no, I'll let her introduce herself because I'm sure she can do it better. So this is the awkward bit, really, where you're just like, nothing's happening, and you're waiting for people to join you live and for Jay to get the notification. Okay, so Jay should be joining me now. She has requested. Okay, so yep. So if you bear with us, hopefully it will connect. Um, so so Jay, I can see that I'm accepting you. What happens when you get accepted? So I'm seeing that you're sending the request in, but nothing's happening. So I press accept. Is anything coming back your way? Maybe you can just put in the comments. And if not, maybe I can finish this live and restart. I don't know if that will help. Okay, so thank you if you are joining us live. We're just seeing if we can get Jay to connect to the IG live. So Jay said it's not happening. Okay. So what I'm going to do is what I'll do is I'll finish this and I'll log back in and we'll start again. Maybe that's that's sometimes the way to do it. So I'll finish. Yeah, I'll log back. I'll log out and log back in. Oh, hold on. Let me see. So go live, accept. Oh,
it works! Amazing. Hello.
yay. Oh, hold on. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I kept accepting over and over again. There was nothing was happening.
I am so glad. I was so worried that I don't know, this would never have connected. Is there a weird
Yeah.
filter on yours? Is this what I actually look like?
I don't think there's a filter on you.
Sorry, I'm here. I am present. Lovely to be here. Thank you so much for
Oh,
having me
yeah.
here.
Yeah, nice to have you join as well. I'm sure we're going to have an amazing talk today. So what I thought we'd do is actually just kind of introduce ourselves to begin with, and then we can go into our talk. So thank you for those of you who are joining us live. Your time and your presence is appreciated. You could even put some questions in the chat, or if you have some comments, we'll try and kind of keep up with them. But if you are watching on the replay as well, you can pop some comments or thoughts on the replay as well. So my name is Emma, and I run this IG page, Healing Space BIPOC, and my pronouns are she, her, and my background is African, Caribbean, Jamaican, and white British. I live here in the UK, in the Midlands. I've had a bit of sun, but it's disappeared. We had like a heat wave for like a few days, and now it's gone. So I'm a little bit upset about that. So I am a practitioner of yoga, yoga nidra, meditation, and also have taught it for quite a few years now. I really follow the principles of Black feminism, which means we are intersectional and really recognizing each person's power and privilege and how we can all connect together to support one another. I'm interested in African spiritual traditions as well, and probably lots of other things as well. I'm very interested in spirituality, loads and loads of things I could go into, but we might touch on them a little bit later on. So if you'd like to introduce yourself, Jay.
Yes, I am Jay Percy, the artist. My pronouns are she, her. I am an artist. I am an Obia woman. I'm a training psychotherapist. I'm a psychonaut, medicine woman, root worker. I wear many hats, but overall, I'd say I'm on this earth to experience whatever makes me happy, what makes my soul sing. So I will put my hat anywhere.
That's amazing. That's an amazing way to put it. What does psychonaut mean, Jay? That's a new word for me. I love it when I speak to you because you always tell me a new word. I'm like, oh yeah, what's this?
Well, a psychonaut is someone who engages with psychedelics, but not as a party drug for recreational use. It's really specifically to explore the realms of the mind. So like astronaut explores the stars, a psychonaut will explore the mind via psychedelics.
Right, yeah, because that's something that I was thinking, how do I describe the psychedelic aspect? So I put practitioner, I just kind of made it up.
That works too, honestly.
Oh, okay, so psychonaut, that's a really amazing way of explaining it. And could you just, did you just let people know your heritage as well? Did you do so?
Yes. My heritage, I am Afro-Indo-Caribbean and European. Yeah.
And you live
specifically from Antigua, Jamaica, Curacao, and then various parts of Europe. What was your next question, sorry?
I was just saying, and where do you live as well? You can let us know where you are as well.
Yeah, I currently live just outside of London in Hertfordshire. I'm a Londoner through and through. I was born and raised there.
Lovely. Amazing, amazing. And I can see that you have a lot of plants as well where you live.
Yeah, at one point it got to something ridiculous like 40 plants in my tiny flat, and now I've managed to I think it's about 30. I know that 10 doesn't seem to make a difference, but when you're in a small space, it really, really does.
Right.
Tons of plants.
No, it
and
looks amazing.
I have an allotment, so I grow my own food as well.
Oh, that's amazing. That is really something I aspire towards, but I haven't quite achieved keeping plants alive for that long. But I'll get there. You can help me when we go foraging.
We'll get there, definitely.
Yeah, we will do. So for today's talk, it's really kind of up to you what part of your healing and spiritual journey you'd like to discuss today, and where, in whichever, because obviously healing and spirituality is a continuous evolution and exploration. So there'll be maybe one point in the story that you feel you'd like to share for everybody today.
Yeah, and I just want to touch on you saying that it is continuous, it is a journey, it's not a destination. It's kind of wandering journey throughout your life, and maybe it seems a bit bleak to some people that it doesn't really have an end. But I don't know, I find it kind of beautiful that it doesn't have an end. I get to rediscover who I am and what I want and what I need throughout my life. And really this all started, I guess we go back to the beginning, right, where the undoing started, and that would be the sort of childhood upset and traumas that I had experienced. My parents had split when I was quite young, and when they'd split, that sort of brought a load of different stresses with it. My poor mother was stressed all the time. My father, he's unable to communicate his emotions. So really, when you're around two parents, one who's very stressed all the time, one who's unable to communicate properly, you start to build up all of these weird defense mechanisms that for the longest time you believe that nothing's wrong with you. You think, oh, I'm just having a hard week, a hard month, or you know, maybe things just don't come easy to me. Maybe I just have bad luck.
Right,
And
right.
I was just dealt a bad hand in life. And, you know, all these sorts of horrible self-eating away thoughts had sort of hit me all of my life. And when I was, I guess, 14, 15, I'd always been quite into, I guess, what would be called occult practices, occult meaning hidden. I know the word is very skewed and people associate with demonic. The word literally means hidden.
Yeah.
So I was very into the occult from a very young age. And when I got to 14, I was sort of handed a book by a friend that really helped me to explore that occult side further. But I had to put that away because I really thought I needed to focus on what was needed from me out society. So I went and studied marketing, which seemed like a great idea at the time, you know, spent some time doing law, and, you know, nothing really stuck, nothing really felt great. And I don't think it was necessarily, I mean, it may have been to do with what I picked, but a lot of it felt to do with the fact that I was just so down. And I was sort of 19, wandering around, crying often, having fainting spells. I would just faint. I would have disassociative spells. So I'd be stood in the middle of a train station and like forget who I was, panic that, you know, it was really, really horrible mental health psychosoma stuff going on there. So I decided to go and see a counsellor. And that really was the first part of my journey where I thought, you know what, I don't think it's normal that I should be feeling like this all of the time. So if I go out there and get the help, then maybe I will feel better. And I did a little bit, I really did a little bit, but there's only so far, maybe what, 12 weeks, something like that. So I did that course, and, you know, I'd met my partner, had a couple of horrible, horrible breakups, met my partner, and really sort of fell head over heels for him within the space of an evening, and we'd been together ever since. But there was still this sort of like darkness, like really pulling me down, this real sort of sense of doom and self-hate, self-loathing. And I continued with therapy. And it got to a point where I had the opportunity to do psychedelics with a really amazing person, actually, and it was life-changing. I really just got to see that how closed off I was and how much openness that I hadn't achieved yet in my life. So the psychedelics really opened those doors for me to be more open to, you know, all of the love and connectedness that's around us. And that was a really big part in the healing journey for me. Because without the psychedelics, I don't feel like I would have been able to put together the pieces of the therapy, which is why when I preach psychedelics, normally what you'll hear off of me is also go to therapy. Therapy and psychedelics, they're a great combination. So where I'm at now in my journey, I'm training to be a psychotherapist, and I'll be specializing in art and psychedelic psychotherapy, because I believe that these two mediums have real potential for healing. And, you know, we have enough rock stars on this planet. Maybe what we desperately need is more people to help nudge people to find their own inner healing.
Definitely. So one thing I'd just like to maybe find out a little bit more about is, so when you tried psychedelics out for your healing, was it like a friend that you knew? Was it like a recommendation? Because I suppose, you know, from somebody who hasn't gone through this experience personally, what I would think is I would need to make sure I'm with somebody who is trusted, who is aware of this practices, and to feel really safe and held. because you know you're going to as a really with a lot of healing and spirituality and therapy as well, you need to feel like you're safe. It's so important, and you feel like you have that relationship to actually open up. You know what I mean?
I completely agree with you. And when I was first offered psychedelics, it was with someone I really trusted, and they said, try a tiny bit of this, you know, this will, I promise you, this will open your mind. And up until that point, I'd been very much a square, very much a square. You know, I was always like a top grades kid in school, you know, teacher's pet, suck up. And then when Grenfell Tower came down, just at that point in life, there were a lot of belief systems that were being pulled out from under me that I'd had that, in retrospect, were very unempathetic ideologies.
Okay. Could I, because so we have international people who'll be watching, could you just let people know what Grenfell Tower, what happened, if anybody outside the UK is not aware?
So it's a council house, council property, so a block of flats or block of apartments in the west part of London, in a royal borough in London, in fact, which is extremely divided between the super rich and the super poor. And this one particular tower was cladded in a material that wasn't fire safe. And I think the decision to not pick something fire safe was something like £5,000 worth of money. So someone's flat set on fire and the whole building went up in flames. And I believe something like 500 people were living in the building. And the government tells us that something like 70 people died, which I personally feel like is an underplaying of the numbers, because the way that thing went up so quickly, I can't quite imagine how anyone would have got out of that super high rise that quickly.
Yeah, and it was the early hours of the morning, wasn't it, as well, I think?
The early hours of the morning, under the council itself was under the Conservative government, which were, you know, sorely underfunding. And it was just like one of those moments that hit me.
It's a lot of it's mainly non-white people who live there. It was mainly
immigrants, people of colour. So that's really what hit me. That I just thought the government really, I mean, I always sort of knew they didn't care about immigrants, brown and black people, but there was the proof for me. That was so emotional thinking about that.
It kind of made the media for a very short time, didn't it? I felt like for how much of a tragedy it was, it felt like it moved on very quickly. If you compare it to, like, is it Notre Dame in Paris, when that was in flames, like millionaires were donating money and everybody around the world was in tears and that sort of thing. But actually, this was human life that was lost for no reason.
£5,000 for £5,000.
Yeah, and really there's been no justice as well. Nothing has been done. Nobody's been held accountable. I think I've tried to keep up with what's going on a little bit, but I don't think they have, like, nobody's been held accountable for this at all. They've managed to skirt their way out of it. And also what I heard is that people who are in places that have this cladding, they have to now pay for it themselves. I think
I'm in one of these places that I'm pretty sure I'm in one of these places that has this cladding, and if you're a homeowner, you have to pay. You have to pay out of your own pocket to repair it. So you're sitting on something that can go up like a box of matches. And I know there's probably some people wondering, what has this got to do with healing? I think for me, it's understanding that these quite big pivotal moments that destroy the collective, that for me was my wake-up call. It was my wake-up call to be like, do you know what, I was suspicious of this society a little bit before, to be honest. I was quite a big cheerleader of it. After that, I was just like, I reject. With this rejecting,
and you said something about empathy as well. What you said, that you had less of an empathic way before this happened, and something shifted
Yeah,
for you?
I was always very much, I used to preach this sort of personal responsibility and meritocracy. So the meritocracy being this idea that, you know, whatever you work for, you're going to get back rewards. So you get
Right.
remunerated or credited fairly for what you do in the society.
Yeah.
When really that's not the case. If you, if you know how to essentially hack money, which is supposed to be a free flowing resource, if you know how to hack this free flowing resource, you're able to hoard it, and then someone suffers on the other end.
Right.
Money is simply energy.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, energy is meant to flow. It's never meant to be
Yeah.
blocked and held in one place centrally.
Mm-hmm.
It's meant to move
Mm-hmm.
hands.
Right. Yeah. So I think, so I mean, yeah, I suppose from the British ideology, there is this lie of meritocracy, isn't there? I think it's quite a very strong, pervasive ideology, actually, because it really focuses on, oh, okay, so immigrants or black people, you don't have this, it must be your fault.
You didn't work hard enough.
Haven't. And we even see that like a few months ago, they had a racial report which said there is no racism in this country, and the reason for it is because people are suspicious. Black people are suspicious, and you know, non-white people, we're just suspicious people, and we feel like there's this racism going on that's not real. So basically, getting racial gaslighting.
It's
So
codified gaslighting. It's codified gaslighting is exactly what it is.
yeah.
And because
Mhm.
they write it, you know, victors write history apparently, and
Mhm. Mhm.
this is what we're seeing a lot. I think it's really hard for some people to grasp what is happening right now is history. And I'm not
Mhm.
about because we're in a pandemic. This could be any given year. Throw a dart at a calendar. You are the
Mhm.
history.
Yeah,
What you
we're creating the next generation's like foundations, really.
yeah. So when they write these things, there's no racism in Britain. It's like, okay.
We can move on. We don't need to do anything
So
about it. We don't need to
it's
challenge
fine.
it. We don't need to. Everything's fine. Let's pretend everything is okay and carry on.
Do you know
Carry
you
on
have
what
to,
we're
yeah,
doing.
I have to laugh or I cry
Yeah,
because
me too. I agree. Yeah, it's so
it's
oppressive.
it's oppressive. And do you know what? We can definitely say things like it's oppressive, it's unfair, it's unjust, and we can really use
Mm,
these justice-based words. For
mm,
me, it's also illogical. We're on this
right.
earth as a species, right? Where we're supposed to be bettering the human condition, and what
Yeah, allegedly some.
we're burning everything down. We're ruining our communities. We're pulling up the earth. We're
Yeah.
now the earth is in a state where it desperately needs healing. But I
Mm,
don't feel like we can give that healing to the earth until you start with yourself, and that
mhm,
charity, it starts at home.
mm,
So
mm,
it's really important to be able to self heal, so then you
mhm,
can move forward and spread that healing, because you can't heal from an empty vessel. You
right.
really
Mhm,
can't. I tried. I'm sure many of you out there have tried. And what happens? You
mhm,
just get more run down, you get sick, and then you
mhm,
wonder, oh, why is my body failing on me?
mm, mm,
Psychosoma, we're a holistic organism. Everything is connected. Your toe to the top of your head. Um,
mhm,
you can't overlook these things. But I
mhm,
feel like everything about the way Western society treats healing is it's symptomatic instead of the root of the problem.
mhm,
I
mhm,
have an allotment, and I'd be an idiot if I just kept putting up the leaves of the weeds instead of going out and digging out the roots, right? You
mhm,
have to
mhm,
pull the roots up in order
mm,
to kill this thing. We don't do
mhm,
this here.
mm,
And that's why I'm on my path of healing, because I
mhm,
to get to the root of my problems,
mhm,
the root of anything that I can get to, so I'm able to move forward in the world, actually being able to help the next generation.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, definitely. And so on your like healing path, you have mentioned that, you know, you had like therapists, you had friends, and do you feel that that is something that, yeah, we do the healing on our own, but we also need some type of mentors or community to actually help us keep going, you know? So like in Buddhism, it's called the Sangha, which is your um, the community, and you're all on the same spiritual path, and that is important. You need that community, or you'll get to a certain point and you're just going to get stuck.
I completely agree with you. And because the way I describe it, I like to keep feet in both realms, so the spiritual and the material, because in the both lies true balance. I have
Mm-hmm.
my material helpers, so my therapists that I pay that have the right language, the right vocabulary to help install the right vocabulary into me to talk about healing.
Mm-hmm.
I have the right spiritual mentor who you spoke with last week, who she's here now. Hey Emma, who you know, points me in the right direction and is able to assist me in my journey there, because for the longest time I was what I guess I would consider a solitary witch, just playing around with herbs, doing my practices, um, but there's only so much you can do if you're not drawing on the community's experiences. And it's also very arrogant to think that, no, I've got this all in me. No man is an island. We're mammals, we're communal animals, we're designed to pass on information to the next generation. If we weren't, we'd be like I don't know, why am I thinking of spider? I'd just be one of those spiders that gives birth and dies straight away. I don't know why I thought of a spider there. But we overlap purposefully. Everything is intelligently designed. And you should draw on that community because they may know better than you.
Definitely, I completely agree. And I suppose, you know, you practice obia, which is a African derived tradition, and actually, um, you know, part of the African traditions is like the importance of the village, the importance of the elders. Well, actually, the importance of everybody. So they have an importance of the young people because they're closer to the other side, just like the older people. Teenagers, they have their own important role to play, and everyone is seen as having that, you know, responsibility for each other and helping each other grow, which I think is really beautiful. And it's something that I would like to, I'm really trying to cultivate in my own life, I think, and that equal exchange, because I think maybe, I mean, our society is very individualistic, but also it's not necessarily all about equal exchange. That's something that people have to learn, I really think.
There isn't a lot of equal exchange in this society. Unfortunately, it's designed to be extractive. You know, even the fact that when we think of an employer, that the automatic thing in your mind is, or anyone's mind is, that there's going to be a power, there's a boss, and then me. You know, they're this person above me. You are selling your labor. You are selling your air, your body, your whatever it takes to power you through those 8 hours. You are selling.
Yeah.
We don't see it that way. We see it as though we're being bought, and because we don't collectively see it as that way, there's almost this power imbalance in the day to day where we're not getting that equivalent exchange, which is, it's inhuman, it's anti-human. I think that so much about the way we live is just anti-human.
Yeah, it doesn't allow for humanity, really. Yeah, definitely, it really doesn't. And again, it's like allowing people to be like sovereign beings, allowing people to have their own voice and their own ideas and creativity. And a lot of places that you work at, that's just not accepted. You probably get into trouble some places if you're trying to give ideas that are different to the status quo. So it's quite suppressive of your individual essence and your soul, to be honest, because I've definitely had jobs that are literally soul destroying, and you come out the other end and you think, like, where have I gone? My soul. They've taken my, they tried to take my soul, but I've, you know, then you come out and you're a bit of a shell, and you think, oh my god. But it's a process of extraction, isn't it? And giving, and there's not, and all it is, it's the money. There's not the other parts that we need to have a healthy, fulfilling life or work-life balance.
And a lot of the time when everyone, you know, us worker ants put in all of this effort and then the money centralizes at the top, it's recognized the hard work of this pioneering individual who is self-made. No one is self-made. Someone made the mines the materials to make your phone to do your business on. Someone farmed your vegetables so you could eat dinner today. Unless you are telling me you got up, you tended to your own land, you grew your own food, even then you need the mycelium in the soil, the living mycelium in the soil, in order to facilitate the growth of this thing. No man is an island.
Yeah.
So then we have these figureheads at the top, and they've made all of these wise, grand decisions, and none of the profits get split back down to the people who actually created the wealth, because I guess their genius and intelligence is the value somehow, but that isn't human and it isn't community. And I think so much about healing relies on finding your community and understanding your own self-worth and your own sovereign autonomy.
Yeah, self-worth is very important, definitely, because I mean, it depends on, well, I suppose if we're in the society we're in, which is colonial, capitalist, patriarchal, if you're we are told that we're not as good as other people because we're lower down this ranking of, you know, gender, race. So even if, you know, even if you have the best family in the world who tries to instill lots of positive things in you, we have so many messages around us, like bombarding us from pretty much as soon as we're born, that we are not good enough. We're not as good as other people. You know, we should appreciate what we get. It's, you know, this sort of thing. So I think sadly it's an unlearning, isn't it? When you get to a certain age, you're unlearning all of the harmful things that are, you don't even realize that you've got internalized in you. And then you're kind of starting all over again, I wouldn't say starting afresh, because you're having to do it all the time. Really.
It's almost like starting afresh, having to unlearn all of the unhealthy behaviors, and not even just unlearning the unhealthy behaviors, being aware that you have unhealthy behaviors. So many people aren't aware they have unhealthy behaviors.
Definitely.
And you know, the best of us have these unhealthy behaviors. Everyone does. So
we all do.
So it's about that self-inquiry and asking, like, I call it shadow work. Well, I don't call it shadow work. It is called shadow work, and I understand it to be shadow work. So you're doing your shadow work. What is it that really gets your goat? And then follow that line of inquiry. Why does it get my goat? Why does this thing make me angry or frustrated? Or why does it make me snap at people? And you know, your mind could first go, well, they're being this way. Well, of course, yeah, they are being this way. But why are you feeling like you need to give rise to it?
And it's not to say it's always, there is personal responsibility, but it's also recognizing the dynamic of the outside harm that you have experienced that's actually making you react in that way, but then having the self-determination and support to help you overcome that interaction of, like, the social conditioning, really.
Yeah, definitely. And what it isn't about is, you know, not holding other people accountable for their attitudes.
Definitely.
But let's just take any given argument, because you can't argue with yourself in a room, right? How am I contributing to this? And it's not a matter of saying, well, I shouldn't be contributing to it. It's just the how. It's just the question. All you need to ask is the question. What about, what part of me is feeling so let down by this right now that the only emotion I'm able to give is anger? Because there are so many more other emotions than anger. There's sadness, vulnerability, frustration, distress. Why am I going to this particular place? If you start to follow those lines of inquiry, you get to what for me normally ends up being some kind of childhood incident where it's like, oh God, this thing happened to me when I was 6 years old, and now I think I need to react in this way to protect myself, because 6-year-old me couldn't protect myself. But you know what, 29 myself can protect myself. So do I need to go to this place, or can I back off and be like, do you know what, peace, you do you. I do me, you do you.
And because obviously you're doing psychotherapy, which it does focus on the developmental part of, you know, our childhood and how it's impacting us in our adulthood, which I think is super important, because it just really does affect so many things, but it's subconscious, a lot of it, isn't it? It's not that we know we're acting like how we did when we were 5 years old, when we were whatever it is, and we're continuing that cycle. And that's really where psychotherapy and them sort of therapies, they're kind of bringing to the surface the unknowns that keep arising over and over and over again, really, isn't it? Until you get to the root of it, as you were saying before.
Definitely. It's such I know a lot of people have very big issues with Freud and will say, oh, you know, a lot of what he said has been disproven. Maybe it has, but let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think, going on my journey at least, I can see in my life that there are a lot of incidences in my childhood that inform the way I've reacted to things in my adult life. And I've spent the last 10 years of my life learning how to not react to those things. And it's not about stuffing down emotions. In fact, it's the opposite. It's about honoring it, honoring in the moment and feeling it, and going into the body and feeling what the body feels like. So when I get angry now, in the past, it would just be, oh, I feel angry and I'm just going to say what I want to say. Now I can almost slow it down, and I can feel from almost where my liver is, and I can feel, it's almost like the cortisol is rising from my kidneys, and I can feel it up to my neck, and I can feel the warmth in my body, and I know what it feels like in my body now. So as I spot what the anger feels like, I don't need to react as quickly, which means I can slow down my conversations and, you know, mitigate any more further explosive arguments between me and whomsoever, which has been a really important part in the journey. Because if you're constantly, I think a lot of my healing is about dealing with rage, dealing with anger, which is the past tense of rage, really. Anger being historical, rage being current. And going into the body and really observing what that feels like for me has helped me get to the heart of what makes me me, what makes me who I am.
So I suppose, like, rage and anger, just thinking that they're quite interesting things, because as women, we are conditioned to suppress our anger because it's not
ladylike. It's not ladylike to be shut up.
But also it's dangerous to be angry, because if we are angry, we can get pushed back, we can get in trouble. You know, if somebody is catcalling us on the street and we turn around and tell them to fuck off, which I do want to do, and we express that anger, but then we're in danger because we don't know how that person with more power is going to then react and potentially harm us, you know. So Yeah, anger is a something is quite an interesting thing, anger, and it's something I've been exploring a little bit recently. And how do you actually express it in a healthy way? Because I think a lot of people don't know how to express it. It's either outburst
Mm.
or it's the suppression. And then it turns inwards to maybe, like self-loathing, and it's my thing to hold. Maybe somebody else has done something to me, but it's my fault, you know. So I don't know if you've got any tips about expressing
Well,
anger.
I've always, I guess because I'm coming from the other end of the scale, where I
Mm,
was always like, I don't care what you think of me as a woman, I'm giving you anger because you are standing in my way and I will not have that. I'm sort of
yeah.
coming from that end of the spectrum, having to find my way back to the middle, whereas there are a lot of women who are
Mhm.
on the other end of the spectrum who are trying
Yeah.
to find their way back to the middle.
Yeah.
And at the first instance, it is about, first of all, when you're communicating and if someone's saying something that is particularly angering,
Hmm.
train yourself, and it is a practice. Everything we do in this life is a practice, so it takes time to
Hmm.
observe what they're saying, truly hear what they're saying, and observe what that feels like. Like, wow, this that
Hmm.
was a, that was a comment. That was not, I feel some kind of way about that, and really just observe, why do I feel that way about it,
Mm.
and
It can
why
be
are they
difficult.
saying it?
It
It
can be difficult, especially if you have developmental trauma, because your thinking brain is turning off. So, as you're saying about, childhood traumas, it affects the brain
Yes, and that's
quite
what we
significantly.
do
So,
learn about in
yeah,
psychotherapy. We do also touch on the neuroscience of things. So it's almost like we're reacting from our reptilian brain, but
hmm, hmm,
that is
hmm,
because you are trained in that moment to turn it off.
yeah,
If you're able to start, when you're in these situations, as you feel the things start to escalate, if you're able to remind yourself,
hmm,
what is happening right now is a miscommunication.
hmm, hmm, yeah.
Try with benefit of the doubt. I know not everyone particularly appears to deserve benefit of the doubt, but the
Not
benefit of
everybody.
doubt,
I'll disagree with you there. Not everybody does.
not everyone
I think I
deserves
give
it, but what I will say
it.
is benefit of doubt isn't for
Yeah,
them, it's
yeah,
entirely for
it's
you.
been you.
They
Yeah,
don't even not need to know that you're considering what they're saying. You just
yeah,
need to know in your heart of hearts,
yeah.
okay, I am listening to this idiot be really offensive or
Hmm.
disparaging. And at that point, if you're able to recognize that, you can set your boundary, because the anger
Hmm.
is the frustration from not being able to set a boundary. So if in that moment
Yeah.
you're able to catch that, like,
Mm.
actually, you are not going to speak to me like that, and I'm going to leave this conversation until you can talk to me like we are
Yeah,
both adults. And
yeah, yeah.
there will be people that will persist, and especially a lot of narcissists who don't like to hear that. Like, how dare you? You can't step away from me. I'm talking to you.
Mm. Hmm.
Make sure you're prioritize as much as you can, prioritize your safety, keep your front to them, stand your
Hmm.
ground. I'm setting my boundary right now and you are not going to break through it. And you know what? You are going to come away feeling angry. You are
Yeah.
going to come away feeling, I should have said this, I should have said that.
Mm-hmm.
But not all of the time, not all of the time we need to say this or that, because who is it
Right.
for? It's for us and
Yeah.
essentially
And
our ego. You know who you are.
sometimes,
No
sometimes
one can
we
tell
need to
you who you are.
protect our own peace as well, don't we? Because
Yeah.
everybody cares. They
No.
genuinely don't care what you're going to give an answer and try and
Yeah.
educate, explain. But some people don't care, and maybe you just need to use that energy to go away and do your own thing, and maybe, I don't know, do something better
Some
than,
people, Emma, don't have even the capacity to care. It's not even that they don't care.
they
They
just,
are legitimately,
yeah.
they don't engage with those parts of their brain that allow them to care. You're
Yeah.
asking someone who's never lifted a day in their life to pick up the most massive of 100 kg weight. They've never
Mhm.
lifted. Why are you expecting them to pick up a weight? I think so much of this communication issue is almost understanding what the other person is capable of.
Yeah.
Cognitively. Not every, they haven't lived your life experiences and you haven't lived them. So you're going to be cognitively different from them. So it's about taking the time to continually remind yourself that people are going to be cognitively different, and some people just aren't going to have the capacity. They're literally not going to have the physical neural pathways to comprehend what you are saying. And if they cannot comprehend,
I suppose it's also like saying that, yeah, maybe they can't, but it's also putting that boundary of like, that's still not right, you know?
It doesn't mean it's right. And these things aren't, they aren't excuses, but they are explanations. And one thing that I found that's been important on my healing journey is looking for explanations instead of excuses. I can't excuse the people in my childhood who, you know, did awful things, like made me eat food off of the floor like a dog.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That must have been awful.
It was traumatizing. And you know what? I can't excuse their behavior. But I can explain that there is a simpleness going on in their brain that doesn't allow them to have that level of empathy that would make you think, boy, you don't do that to a child.
What sort of person would do that?
It isn't a rational, empathetic person that I would want as a friend. And if you understand them to be that, they're actually not someone that I would give the time of day to.
And protecting
it makes it a little easier. It makes it a little easier.
No,
and
all we're trying
to do with this healing is make it a little easier each time.
That's so true. That's so true, because the healing journey can be, it's very difficult. It's not all rainbows and unicorns and, oh, I'm healed, and it's usually very, very difficult, very lonely. It can be very re-traumatizing as well, because obviously when you're talking about psychotherapy and revisiting childhood trauma, you are literally having to go to them places at a very deep level. So you're probably going to have it rise up, all the emotions, and you need to process it. So it's quite an ugly process, I would say, from my own point of view. The deep healing is it's not Instagrammable at all. But none of it.
I think that's so important, because you know, I see a lot of these sort of like self-care posts, and people are doing their nails and sitting with masks on. That isn't self-care. Up until the 90s, Instagram, that was branded as pampering. Remember, that's not self-care, it is pampering. There is a large difference between self-care and pampering. Self-care is about being able to get to a place of setting healthy boundaries, about feeling strong and feeling like I could defend myself in this situation communicatively. It's about being able to say, do you know what, actually this weekend I'm not able to go out because this really hard thing has happened during my week, or my week's been really, really hard, and I kind of just need the weekend to decompress. That's the self-care. Like go get your nails done and your face mask, or go to your day spa, call it pampering all you want, but don't come to me and tell me it's self-care. It's not.
And I think probably capitalism has made us, that's been marketed to people, hasn't it? That self-care equals consuming. And like, I like pampering, okay? Nothing against it. I get my toenails sorted out, my feet, you know, pretty. I like to get my hair done, but that's just maybe like a relaxing pastime, just to kind of make yourself feel good. But like you said, I think boundaries is, you're really saying, I'm putting myself first. I'm putting my health, my mind before anything else, and I'm not giving in to pressure from external, you know, and really saying, actually, this is important. I'm important as well. That's what boundaries, when you have them in place, you're actually reinforcing, I'm important, my needs are important. But when we don't have them boundaries, and they get pushed and all the rest of it. Each time we get a little bit pushed down and down and down, sadly.
It's taken me, I don't want anyone to listen to this and think, oh, well, she's recommending all of these things. How am I meant to do that? I've had such a hard childhood, you know, she's talking nonsense. This has taken me 10 years, and psychedelics and therapists and mentors to come to this realization. You're not going to undo the first however many years of your life in a day. You're not going to undo that by going to a therapist once. You're not going to do that by going to a therapist for 12 weeks, is the reality.
I agree.
The work isn't sitting in a therapist office. The work isn't sitting down through a challenging psychedelic trip. The work is you're doing in the mundane. The work is when your boss is irritating the hell out of you or said something patronizing, and you feel small in that moment and have to remember and remind yourself, I am worthy of peace. I am worthy of strength. This is particularly upsetting for me because it reminds me of this thing in my life. Okay, I can label this now. I label it. I might feel a bit crappy right now in the moment still, even though I can label it. But, you know, I'm going to respond better than the last time where they said this patronizing thing and I went into my shell for like a month. And then I had to take work off sick, and these are all things that have happened to me. You know, I've had some really decent jobs in my time, but there have been large periods of time where I've either had to quit or take time off because I've been so depressed and so anxious that, you know, if I sent a misspelling in an email, that in my mind the world would have burned down, which isn't the case, you know.
But now in your kind of professional life, you've built up that, I don't want to say shell because it's not a shell, but you built up that like protecting of your energy within potentially toxic, I'm guessing some of them were toxic workspaces.
So toxic, some of them.
But that's good that you know, because I think it's so important because so many people work in very harmful work environments and toxic environments, and it can just take so much of a toll. And I think sadly in our society it's kind of like, oh, you should just be happy you've got a job, and the bare minimum. There's no have no expectations. If they pay you, they can speak to you and do whatever they want to you, and that's it.
That's so bizarre to me. It's so bizarre to me. And then I sit here and I think, and I look at all of the CEOs in these companies, and they're largely white cis male. And then I think, because I do a lot of ancestor work, why am I doing a diet version of what my ancestors did? Like, did they survive for me to be doing this noise? No, they absolutely didn't. I mean, I'm sure they're sitting there looking like, wow, she's, you know, improved from the situation that we had significantly. Definitely. But if we don't recognize that there can always be continual improvement, then where do we go? And I mean sustainable improvement. I don't mean the kind of extractive improvement that relies on getting shareholders more money than they had the year before. I mean that true intrinsic development where we can look and go, actually, that wasn't quite right the way we acted then. How can we do better next time?
Definitely. I need to just check the time. I've got a clock behind me. Okay, yeah, so we've been chatting now for an hour, so
wow.
I'm so quick, and I always think like I need to check because we could just keep chatting about.
I could talk to you forever. I always love talking to you.
Yeah, we can always do another one and a part two, and maybe focus on a specific. But I think the beauty of these conversations is that it can be led by the moment, led by the energy, the spirit, or maybe ancestors are guiding and saying, actually, this is the conversation maybe we both need to have right now, and trusting that the people watching, they need to see this there's something in what we're saying is some medicine for them. So we will wrap it up. But what I'd like to do before we end is just say, like, how can people find out about your work? What sort of things you have like available and offerings, and just I'm sure people would be interested to hear about all the different things you do. So where can they go? What do you have to help them?
Well, you can find me on my Instagram page at jpercytheartist, where I have pieces that I've already created and curated that can be sold as prints or originals. I also do commissions. I've started to do readings now. Hey,
Okay.
I've always done reading for friends and family members that I'm close with, but now I'm actually opening up readings through
As
the
in,
practice of readings.
As in, is that like divination, or what is that?
Yeah, divination. It's sort of a combination of using, instead of tarot cards, I use shells to throw, and that can help address problems that you may be having in your life. And then we have a nice long conversation about, I guess, what is bothering you, what has led you to asking these questions. And it can be really spiritually reassuring to have that sort of ancestral divination. I'm always so shocked at how accurate it is. And this, I'm honestly not tooting my own horn here, because for me, this is spirit. I am just the medium for the spirit. So when it comes forward, it's so useful. So I do that. I do clearings. You can also find me at jpercyart.com.
So clearings, could you just, I think we have a part two where we talk about the divination, spirits, and also the clearing, because I think that needs like a whole conversation.
It needs a whole conversation. Clearings is when we'll do some energy clearing, sort of moving some stagnant energy out that is blocking you. And what I tend to do with that is give information on things, practices that you can do in order to, remove these blocks from your life. And they really are long-term things. One thing I'm big for championing is that you are the medicine. I'm not a healer. I'm a healer in the fact I heal myself. Everyone has the ability to self-heal. So for me, it's about, I guess, teasing out the fact that there is a healer in you, and these are the things you can do to bring them forward.
Yeah, amazing. We'll have to hear about the ghost story as well next time, because
okay, ghosts. I'm a ghostbuster.
Yeah, she's also a ghostbuster. So if you have any ghostly situations, she can come in and do what she needs to do. But yeah, I would love to hear about that, because I'm so interested in that. So we'll have to have a dedicated one, because that is just, it blows my mind. So that's amazing. And just, everybody go and follow Jay, have a look at her artwork. If you're interested in getting different services, I definitely recommend Jay, because we've spoken for quite some time now, just through like online, through Zooms, and I always go away feeling like I've learned something when I speak to you. So
likewise,
you've got a wealth of knowledge, and I'm like, oh, there's something, there's that medicine there, from that talk. So thank you so much today for our chat. We didn't get any questions actually, but there might be some questions after I've posted. So have a great afternoon, evening, and weekend, and I'm sure I will see you again. And thank you everybody for watching as well. It's really appreciated. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye everyone.